Valorie, hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
Good. So your show just looks and feels incredible. It's sort of everything that I was hoping it to be, and then more. How does it feel to shoot something like this?
Um, Shooting it is it's incredibly exciting. It's also like it's a very arduous process. It's we commit a lot of days per episode on these hour-long episodes, and in order to get that high production value and in order to really take the time to dig into the character work that we do, like we're a lot of time. And it can be, especially playing Catherine, who is subjected to a lot of emotional intensity. Um, uh, it can be a very all-consuming experience. So I was really excited to see episodes 1 and 2 recently, and to be able to, see how that experience that I have on set is now being translated into a show. And I was just so pumped because I feel like all of the stakes, the the real grounding of those human experiences, everything is very present, but it looks incredible. The world building is incredible. Uh and it's just even from a scene that's so urgent and so plot based, and we're solving things and we're crawling, we're jumping and climbing, to like what scenes where things get to really sit and be about that air between two people with a lot of history, like that tension is maintained throughout. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to be able to start watching next week, because I feel like the experience that I've had making it really exists on the screen when you watch it.
Yeah, I'll jump right ahead. You and Ashley seem to have, you're building a world between the two of you. It's like you have the shared history. And
Mhm.
apparently your banter off screen is very similar to your banter on screen. You've
Wait,
such
who's
that,
this talking to?
well, you have such that click already. It just feels like you've known each other for so long. And that kind of thing, it could translate on screen, but you do it so expertly. Where did you find that? Where did you find that click?
I mean, I honestly, I'm very lucky to have an on-screen partner in Ashley, because we met for the first time doing a chemistry read together when he'd just been cast, I was getting cast, and on that ease and that flow was there from the very first scene. Suddenly it was this realization of like, oh, you're doing that, so I get to do this, and we can just play. We're very similar, I think, actors in the way that we work, and we are just very supportive of each other's process, and that's great. And also, yeah, there's a lot of banter. There's a lot of piss taking off set, which is great. We're good friends, and that came very easily from the beginning. I think it's much easier to have those fun and those comfortable work relationships when you can trust that everybody is taking the work really seriously. And that is one thing that I just love about this cast is everyone. I mean, everyone is just such a wonderful human being, so kind, so emotionally intelligent, but everyone also takes the work really seriously without taking themselves seriously. You know what I mean? Everyone is showing up with 150%, and uh, it makes it a real joy. And it's also it's nice to feel challenged as well every time you come to set.
Mm-hmm. So how does that translate to a work such as this one? Because I feel like what's really fascinating for me as a viewer is I don't know if I quite trust anybody, you know?
Ha, really? I
Yeah,
love
even,
that.
Langdon, when uh, jumping off from the movies, when he's Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks is a certain kind of, he's America's dad. So,
Yeah.
there's a certain trust built in, but a younger Langdon himself, I don't know if I can trust it. Like, I don't know if it's
Oh, I
quite
love
there.
that.
I don't know if I can trust
You trust
you. I don't know. I'm really unsure I mean, I'm sure that that's the idea for the show, but I'm not sure sort of, who I can grab onto and say, here's what I believe. It's hopefully
I
meant to jar us a little bit.
Well, it's so funny. I never thought of that as, being a result we were aiming for in terms of the impression on the audience. But it really makes sense because you know, having seen it now, you know that all of these characters are very haunted by the past, and they are all carrying the weight of some guilt, complicity, and things that have happened, and that, you know, that those past events and that storyline kind of reveals itself over the course of the season. So you get to see where those things are coming from. But I think that allows all of the characters in the present moment and in their interactions with each other, because also that past trauma is what is their commonality. It allows them to exist in these very complex three-dimensional ways, you know. I think there aren't really any of the archetypes that we expect in this genre on this show. Like there's no caddish hero, there's no Han Solo, there's no like absolute villain. It's everyone has a lot of light and has a certain amount of darkness, and they're all grappling with those things, and they're grappling with each other's light and darkness, because again, that past is very present in their relationships.
So I was reading about you talking about for the Tick that Dot, you didn't want to play Dot the way that Dot had traditionally been played. You wanted a fully realized three-dimensional human female character, and that was in large part what appealed to you. So I can imagine for you, for your career, you're looking for roles that allow you to, you know, maybe play with the established norm, or, you know, bring something of yourself into the role, or maybe it feels like the right fit at the right time. So what was it about this role in particular? Because I don't even know if Peacock had even really existed when you first got cast.
I mean, I don't know if Peacock existed, but I think that was I think the decision about where the show was going to be happened over the more protracted period of development because of the pilot, or because of the pandemic. And, you know, we started shooting we were about to start shooting in March of 2020, and we shut down right before like first photography began, and then came back again like 6-8 months later. I think what you said about it being the right role at the right time is really very true for me. It's funny, I've had a lot of opportunities to bring to life characters that already existed in properties, whether it's from books, comics. It's interesting how that's just sort of shaken out for me. And it is a challenge that I do really love, and I do really embrace, to bring more dimension to some of those characters, or just to bring them to life in a way that is unexpected for people who already have an investment in those characters based on those properties. And the opportunity to play Katherine was really enticing for me for a lot of reasons. I mean, not the least of which the people attached to this project. I couldn't ask for, you know, more exciting producers to work with. And Trachtenberg, you know, it was not a tough sell, but you know, a lot of the characters that I have played in the past, even Dot, you know, was very informed by past trauma and was working through that in the present, and to some degree working through resentments and things. I mean, God, if you want to go back to Emma and the following, like that's like that's the extreme version of that. And I really wanted to live in Katherine's skin, because she has this capacity for delight. She is curious. She's positive. Like, yes, horrible shit is happening and has happened to her, but like, she's constantly striving in a positive direction, and is deeply empathetic, and yet still very assertive. She's still very self-assured. And she just felt like that deep curiosity and drive to find exciting new things that have positive implications for humanity, you know, and about humanity that was somebody who I wanted to live with her for a while. And it's been really wonderful to do so.
I've noticed that too, that in this show, that your choices is that you tend to within that empathy, you tend to almost go small at times when you would expect to go bigger. You know,
What do you mean?
you're quiet, you're more reserved. We don't, playing with the traditional norms of what we would expect from the show or from the character, you kind of zig in a way that I would think you would zag. You know, it kind of goes in surprising directions. You know, are you aware of that? Are you sort of making conscious choices to play? Like, how do you feel about her? Do you feel like her? Do you feel like sort of?
I want to be like Katherine. I say that all the time. Like, I wish I was more like Katherine. And thank you. That's really nice to hear that that those choices feel unexpected, because I think there is a world in which she could be played in a way that we expect more, from a term that I'm really ready to retire, which, from a love interest type of character.
Yes, right.
Maybe more emotive is what you're sort of getting at.
Yes.
And I think part of it is really allowing her to be as mature as she is, this is a woman in her mid-30s. This is a woman who is just unfathomably brilliant at what she does. And so while, a character like Langdon, his reserve might come from intellectualizing situations rather than feeling them, or as a way to avoid feeling them, she sort of is able to marry those things. She's able to experience these very high stakes events in an emotionally present way, whilst also being very self-aware. And she's very aware of everyone in the room too. It's funny, we talk about Matthias Herndl, our producing director, who I also could not gush enough about, talks about infusing just this touch of intuition in Katherine. Not in an overt way, she studies these things. She's not psychic or anything like that, but Katherine is always 5 scenes ahead of everybody else in terms of her processing. And so there's a kind of a deep listening and patience that comes with that while you're waiting for other people to catch up.
So in terms of, you've talked about some of the small moments, there's very big moments on the show too. What are your favorites? What have been some of those moments that you've really enjoyed?
Ooh, I'm trying to think how I can do this without spoiling too much. It's honestly, like, this whole experience has been so joyful and gratifying. It's hard to pick out individual moments. We're just wrapping on an episode that is particularly poignant, that the viewers will know when they get to it. I think because it has allowed us as actors to delve and sit even more deeply in the relationships and in the characters, because there's not so much puzzle in this one. When you're constantly trying to like solve the thing, find the thing, transcribe the thing, it doesn't allow you too much space, or you're kind of trying to infuse those character journeys within a very like active plot. And we're just wrapping up an episode that is a lot more focused on the characters and their relationships. So when you get there, you'll know it. I do love moments when Katherine gets to be the action hero a little bit, just because in their duo, Langdon's not really the one who's like gonna jump in the place and go for the thing. And it's almost becoming a bit between the two of us that, he'll expect Katherine to defer. But by the time he looks to her to be like, let's go, she's gone. She's already 5 steps ahead, and I love that. I love that about her. In episode 2, at one point, which I'm trying not to like spoil too much. Whenever Katherine gets a joke, I love it. And they're few and far between. But when Katherine gets to have a joke, I love it, because it was revealed in the 2nd episode that she's a dork. She's very cool. She's got great fashion sense. She's so smart. but such a dork, and her sense of humor is very dorky, and that's something that I enjoy.
So I have so much more that I would want to ask you, but I'm going to try to sum it up into one that this show just feels fresh, new. You know, I'm jumping back even to the movies, and the movies are one thing, and you bring in the creative team, you have such an interesting interpretation of it. What is something that you're really excited for people to see? What are you excited to see? You haven't even had a chance to see the whole show yet.
I know I haven't seen it all, and I kind of feel like maybe now that I've seen 1 and 2, and I'm like, okay, good, I feel great. I'm gonna wait until we're done to watch more because yeah, maybe that would be good for me. I'm so excited for people who are fans of Dan Brown and of his world to see what we're doing, because we have the luxury of a season of a season of TV to explore this book. And whereas in films they've had 2 hours, and it makes for very different beasts, and very different products. But what we get to do by having all that time is we get to explore this world of characters, and so many people who maybe would have just sort of come in and out of the plot very briefly, or served a brief plot purpose in a feature version, or even in the book. Like, we get to follow them. You get to know where they come from. You get to know what their baggage is, and why they're invested in this story. And in a way, this show kind of moves a little bit with different characters in different episodes, and you delve deeper with one, and then and deeper with another in the next episode. And I love that. I love that because what it makes for is a really true ensemble drama. Like this is an ensemble show. Yes, Robert Langdon is the one who is charged with finding the portal, but as an audience, you will be going along with everyone on the ride, and every character is treated with such respect, and their complexity, their history is really honored, and the actors who are bringing them to life are just doing fantastic work with that.
I just want to quickly ask you one more thing. Do you believe in it? Do you believe that there are symbols that are lost symbols? Do you believe in, you talked about growing up religious and not so much anymore. What do you believe in? What do you think is sort of out there?
It's another reason why I love Katherine, and I feel selfishly like I was the right person to get to do this, because I really loved delving into noetic science when I was researching, and the work of writers like Marilyn Schlitz, who I know was part of the inspiration for her. I believe in possibility. I believe in science too. But
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to be said right now. I believe in science. I believe in possibility. And I think also what I love about noetics is it is a science predicated on a belief that humanity is essentially compassionate and cooperative, and not red in tooth and claw, and not depraved. And I think that is it's a wonderful touchstone to have, especially in these times.
It's really incredible to see there's so much more to come on the show, so much more for you to film as well too. I cannot wait to see how it develops. I'm as hooked on it as anybody, and I'm really, really excited. And it's been such a pleasure hearing from you and what you had to say and everything. I'm so moved by your performance and your performances on screen.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for asking such lovely, deep questions.